welcome back from that. It's been wonderful to have this celebration and hear a lot of people talk about all that the children need, from education and healthcare to protection from abuse and exploitation. Children in Nigeria face many challenges, and a call for urgent and sustained attention. What laws exist to protect them, and are they being implemented, which is often the problem we face here in the country, and how can all of us, you and I, from governments to caregivers, step up to do more? That's what we'll be discussing on today's edition. And in the studio is Mr. Anderson. It's so wonderful to have you, Mr. Archibald Anderson. Thank you so much for being part of the program.
Thank you very much.
Now, as we celebrate this day, this is Nigeria once again. The president has given a speech encouraging children, government, public office holders, CSOs, NGOs, everyone today is spotlighting the child. I think my first question will be, beyond this symbolic celebration, why is it, do you think it's important for us to also use this momentum to spotlight the rights of the child?
Well, you know, I would like to say that in every celebration, there is a reason for it. In this year's theme of the Day of the National Children's Day, it has to do with making them to speak out, making them to stand up. And of course, the background is this issue of bullying of children, which we look at as something that we need to do to protect the rights of these children. However, the Child's Rights Act is the law that has been passed for the protection of children, for providing them all the rights and privileges that belongs to them. But what we are looking at is how much have we been able to implement these laws, because it is a document that, if it is well implemented,
exactly,
children will be safe in this country. However, various harms, they look at the NGOs, the agencies, the ministry, everybody is working, but you know we have a very large population. So you may not be able to, you know, identify or see how much have been done, because you still go out the streets, you see children during school hours, you see them roaming up and down, you see children who are begging, you see children who are bus conductors, you see children who are
in employment, very unfortunate.
You see, but you know, if we can do just one thing, you know, just like having a policing for children. That is, there should be a specialized force that will only have the duty of protecting children in this nation.
Wow.
Like,
isn't that going to be a stretch? I mean, we already have limited men on boots on the ground.
No, let me tell you something. You get me? You see, when civil defense came out, we're looking at, by their name, civil. These people will be amongst us.
Right, work better with the
us,
community,
with the community and the people. But I think they decided to concentrate on vandalism of government properties, pipelines, and so on and so forth. Now, we have a program we call the Child Protection Officer Scheme. We ask for volunteers to come in, report cases of abuse. Let's see how we can manage it and refer it to relevant agencies. You get me? Now, if you have policing for children in this country, maybe you have a commission for children. That commission could be under the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs.
Okay.
You understand me? But everything that runs there runs for children. You now see that there's no mix-up. We have NAPTIP, for instance. NAPTIP have a chunk of child protection in them, you know, against abuse, you know. The police, they have gender decks, and things like, no, it's not well coordinated. What we need now is we should have a commission that will be held responsible for the implementation of the child's right laws.
Now we have the Child Rights Act, and my question would be, how far has it gone? Is it domesticated in all states?
Yeah,
And,
we
and
are very happy about that because that was one of the challenges. But by the special grace of God, all the states of the Federation have passed the Child Rights, domesticated Child Rights Acts into law in their states, and I think with stakeholders and partners, we see where we can lay our hands and contribute our own quota to see that the children, when you look at the rights of children, it boils down to the 4 pillars: the protection, participation, survival, and development. Now, as like myself, I am a child protection officer. I work for children. I run an NGO, but our own NGO is concentrated on protection and participation. We now have others that are, concentrates on development. We have survival, for instance. So if we can play all our roles properly, everybody knows what he's doing.
Exactly.
You find out that the children will definitely have a better future in this country.
I mean, it's difficult to actually point at one issue that is pressing, but if one is to ask you now, what do you think is the most pressing issue that children face, which would have that ripple effect? Should government, or should there be an intervention that works?
Education. I look at education, as one of the paramount, that children must be in school.
Okay.
You get me? There are a lot of problems now. Insurgency here and there, displacement of children here and there. There are many families cannot even take care of the ones that they have in their homes. So what do we do? Because the law says if you as a parent cannot take care of your child, that child can be taken away from you for a better livelihood. You get? So we need a system whereby every child will be in school. Every child, no matter where it is, the child should be in school.
What do you think we can do? Because poverty is a problem. You can see how much parents are already suffering economically in this country. Public schools are no longer as seamless as it used to be for some of us.
Yeah.
I remember growing up, you bring your broom and broom and tissue, that would suffice. But now you still have to buy these many books that some parents are unable to afford. I've heard people say, let's criminalize not sending your children to school.
It's already in the law. If you don't
send your children, but let's
school,
implement criminalizing this deprivation of education. But would that work?
If you see, UB says the first level of your school is free. But the question is, how free is the free? You get me? That's where parents have, hold on to the fact that I can't send this child to school because the school is not totally free.
Right. If you take out the tuition, there are several other
things that the child have to pay. There are some governments that are all trying to make sure that nobody, taxes any child in the school, but there must be something a child must pay in the school. Now, you see those kind of parents that need those things. You see, you know that when you talk about subsidies, the essence of subsidizing is for the poor ones to benefit.
Right.
Now, if you remove subsidy, you have to make sure that the poor ones, you understand me, now have opportunity, you understand, to benefit that thing that was giving them stress.
Exactly.
Of getting. You get me? Like, build schools, have a camp where children go. At least they will feed. If we have 6 free schools in each geopolitical zone, and then there will be the screening of who should be in that school, because I know when government wants to do things, they want to do it very nice.
Exactly.
You get me? And when they see that things are very nice in that place, a special school, federal school, the bourgeois will come in and say, my child have to be there. Then preventing those who are supposed to go to that, to get that education, they won't get it. you know. So the end thing is that let everybody, see what they can do for our children in the future. We are losing them.
It's unfortunate with the
are
millions
losing
of
them,
children
yeah.
out of school. The data, sometimes when I look at it, I hear 11 million out of
Yeah,
school
it was
children.
10,
Sometimes
it was 10 before.
exactly.
So it means we are still growing. It's still growing,
And that's an unfortunate growth
Yeah.
that we have just mentioned there. So how can government and civil society spotlight this? Because these
Let
children,
government
yes,
give the civil society a, a a kind of support that the atmosphere, the environment, a conducive environment for them to be able to operate. If civil society, for instance, I am the executive secretary of the National Council of Child Rights Advocates. Now, advocates will say, okay, what do we do? You do this, you do that. Then you see there will be a lot of, we know that we must have to work with government. You get me? But you work with government, not for government.
true.
You get me? So that you have your own say about things. But when you say you are going to work for government, is that you keep on waiting. You won't be able to do what you want to do. You get me? In as much as everybody has his own agenda, you have your own timeline, you know, where you don't cross boundaries. Because before you get registered with the CSA as an NGO, you might have put down your objectives.
Exactly.
So if you work on your objective, it will be easier for us to have results. Every Children's Day, children come out, they march, do display, eat rice and so on and so forth, and that ends it. We must go back to the drawing board,
Right.
and talk about practicalizing these things that we are always talking.
Speaking about going back to the drawing board and practicalizing, the bulk of the numbers are often in the northern part of Nigeria. I mean, out of school children, for instance. And a lot of experts have asked, maybe we're asking them into the four walls of these schools. Can we be innovative and more practical to what works for these people and meet them where they are? Is that something you think can
taking
work?
Education
taking
to them.
education to them,
You see,
maybe.
the problem they have there in the north is uncertainty. You can't predict what will happen tomorrow.
Okay. Is that because of insecurity?
Yes.
Or, okay.
I passed through. I was going to Benue State yesterday. I mean, last week. As I finished passing that night, the S-men entered the community. You understand me?
Unfortunately, yes.
So you can imagine the number of children that might have lost their parents that night. So many issues like that. Even on Saturday, another one happened in another local government. So now those children, what is their fate? So we need to plan. What I mean by going back to drawing board, you're talking about taking the education to them. Can we bring them out from there? You understand? Can we just say, okay, for the children, let's shift them to the safer place. It's not everywhere in the north that is bad or has insecurity. It's not everywhere. There's some pockets of them.
Absolutely.
So those places that are not, can we make it a burden for those people? You see, when you go to camp, say federal government, we have camps. We have what they could displaced persons camps. In that camp, can you build a school, a standard school inside the camp? You understand me? Inside that camp, a formal standard school should be built there, because those people, if you check carefully, you find out they have been there more than 6 years. So if a child stays in that camp 6 years, you will be able to finish primary 6. You understand?
Okay.
And they are going far. It's going to take how many years now? More than 15, 20 years that we are facing all these things. You get me? So tell me, the child would have finished secondary school
at that time, exactly.
At that time, you understand me? And then they will contribute, positively to the growth
society.
of the society. Some of them will get scholarship, to read medicine, to read that, you understand me? And come out and contribute. But when you pack them into that center like that, and then you don't talk any, and nothing.
So how can this conversation lead to action? I mean, we've had this conversation over and over. We understand the challenges that abound, and yet year in, year out is the same thing.
It's
in
advocacy now.
More advocacy than we already have on ground.
Yes, advocacy to the right people.
Okay.
You understand me? It may not be agencies. It could also be it could be individuals, good, philanthropists. We have people who are looking for where to put this money. You get me? We approach them. Sorry to mention, when you can, see over 700 and something building that belongs to one person, you get me? Can such place be used for school?
That's a very good one, and that a lot of Nigerians are beginning to ask, how is this this houses or estate or whatever, how is it going to be shared? I would rather it is used for something like schools, like you said, but then again, that would be just a certain part of Nigeria that would benefit from that. How about others? So I am looking more holistically as to the kind of solutions we need to do. But looking at the media, I sometimes read through papers and I see where, when it concerns children, however the story may be, it's a small headline, but we sensationalize a lot. So in the media, how can we all put our hands together, and whatever, just to ensure that we lend a voice and keep the spotlight on?
Yeah, you see, in the media, you need to have a belt for children. You need to have a full program. Get organization to sit down with you and draw up a plan. Because whatever it is, this is
like the Council for Child Rights. Okay, it means I'm doing. I'm one step. I'm one step in the right direction.
What we are trying to say about advocacy is voice. People should say things. Let people say things. Let people talk about how we can assist in this children's stuff. You play your role because you have a wider outreach. For instance, the Child's Right Law, what does it say? If you decide to start a program on the child's rights and you decide to pick one of the rights
at a time,
it will run the whole year.
Exactly,
2 years,
especially because when you look at many cultures and traditions we have.
When you pick out one and drop on the table, and we talk extensively on it, and would let parents know. For instance, if you talk about right to education, you talk about right to leisure and recreation. Some children don't even have that. Do you know that there are schools that they don't allow the children to play? But it's their right to play.
They don't even have fields any longer.
They don't have fields to play.
You get to a child's school, it's all high-rising buildings.
During break time, that is when they are eating. So we have
that's some violation.
Yes, we have a lot to do to look at those rights and talk about it extensively. Let people also lend their voice in what we're discussing on these rights.
So how would you say, I mean, there are cultural influences, there are traditional, there are religious sometimes. How has it been in this work that you do, navigating so that you don't seem to go against or look like you are abusing?
Initially, when we started asking for the passage of the Child's Right Law and the National Assembly, Nigerians heard that it was thrown up twice. Why? Because of age issues. And then people say, what has it got to do? So we, the advocates, we have our system of asking you Do you want your child to go to school? You say yes. Okay, primary school is 6 years. Secondary school is 6 years. That makes it 12 years. Then the child is 6 years before he starts school. Is that not so?
Exactly.
Because in those days, before you start school, you must carry your hand. Your hand must touch to, and if you don't, then you go
We
back
are not
home.
old enough.
Yeah, and you find out that that's 6 years in the house with your parents. You are learning so much. You learn so much. Some of us are still using what we learned at home, staying at home for 6 years.
6 years.
You get me? Not 2 years the child is in school.
Okay, I think I've also had that conversation, and parents would always tell you that, well, we need to work as well. Economic pressures
Yes.
are not like our parents' time. But we're wrapping up this interview, so my question to you will be, for parents watching you now, the government and everyone, what will be your parting words to them?
Well, one thing, today we are remembering that we have children. It should not be a one-off thing. We should always know that for every child there is a hope and there's a future. So we should always mind the child. We should know that if our generation passes, the children will be coming up. And if we don't do anything about it, you can imagine, okay, let's take the hairstyle the children are into now, the youth are into now. You get me? Can a reasonable person carry such a wild hairstyle?
Okay.
So we need to.
This
we need to
territory you are
start
going
working.
to.
We need to, you understand me, do something about it.
Okay.
There are some decent looking ones. There's some dirty looking ones.
Okay. So we should all do better.
We should just try and see how we can do better.
Thank you so much for your time and the work that you do, ensuring the child rights are upheld in Nigeria, are prioritized. We've been having this conversation around the Children's Day, the National Children's Day, improving child rights in Nigeria, with Mr. Achibong Anderson, Executive Secretary, National Council of Child Rights Advocates of Nigeria, that's NACRAN. Thank you so much once again.
Thank you.